This episode is brought to you by The Good Storyteller, with original music by Eva Donahue.
Welcome to the Write Her Club, the podcast where we bring your favorite female presenting and indie writers and quiz them about all things writing. Today I am with the amazing Claire Fuller. Woo! Please introduce yourself with your name, pronouns, and where the audience can find you.
I'm Claire Fuller, she, her, and you can find me mostly hanging out on Instagram, writer Claire Fuller, a little bit on my website, which is also clairefuller.co.uk.
Excellent. Also, very quickly, dear listeners, if you're a writer, you can win £100. All you need to do is give us a follow on Instagram, tag a friend, and comment what you're working on or reading. We will select 2 lucky winners. The first winner will be announced on our 5th episode. All right, Claire, thank you so much for joining us today. We actually have met each other in person. It was the writers' event in Bristol.
Yes, where I gave a talk.
Yes, you did. But since we have such close personal connections, but the audience does not, I thought we'll do a very quick warm-up game.
Okay.
The game is called Shelved or Scrambled. Shelved as an eggshell or scrambled as an egg, because you told us that you enjoy an egg. But what's the fun thing about the eggs you eat?
You've got to eat the white first in order to enjoy the yolk.
Exactly. So the game itself is I'm going to be giving a elevator pitch of a book that has either been scrambled together by our podcast or has won a Costa Award. Okay, here is the first one. A woman dies in 1910 during a snowstorm before her first breath. She is born again and again in the same year, living longer each time until she gets it right. Do you think it's scrambled or shelved?
Shelved. I think that might be Life After Life.
Correct. It is Life After Life by Kate Atkinson, the 2013 winner.
I'm starting on a high.
All right. Next one. An intelligent cow solves the murders on the farm.
Could that be Animals Farm? I'm going to say scrambled.
Scrambled is correct. We came up with it last night. Excellent. Next one. A group of friends come together to figure out if one of their friends is lying about her new potential boyfriend.
Oh, God, that could be so many books, couldn't it?
It could.
Any kind of psychological thriller, that sounds like. But I'm going to go with Shell.
Scrambled. We came up with it this morning. Next one. A World War II bomber tail gunner becomes an extra in a war film 4 years after the war.
Don't recognise that at all. I'm going to go with Shelved.
Shelved is correct. It is Day by A.L. Kennedy, a 2007 winner.
I've never read that.
Well, here you go.
Okay, yeah.
And last one. Okay, are you ready for this one?
I'm ready.
51-year-old twins live in a secluded cottage with their mother until she dies and the twins are forced into the modern world.
I wonder what that could be. I think that might be Shelved. I think that might be Unsettled Ground.
By whom? I asked.
By someone called Claire Fuller, maybe?
Oh my God, it is! It's you! The 2021 win. The last winner, if I'm correct.
Yeah. Bit sad, really. 50 years and then it stopped.
There was just no one better after you.
Is that the reason?
That is the reason. All right, thank you so much for going along with the silliness and playing this game.
It was great fun.
Excellent. Would you like to give a little introduction about yourself? What is the book that's coming out that you would like people to know about, and anything else that you'd like to plug in right now?
Yeah, so my 6th novel, which is called Hunger and Thirst, is coming out in the UK on the 7th of May, so really not very long now. My 6th, as you said, Unsettled Ground, won the Costa Novel Prize, and then there were various other novels before that. I've been only writing since I was 40, so I guess I've written quite a few novels since then, but everything is kind of gearing up for Hunger and Thirst at the moment.
I saw that you had some big events coming up in the next couple of months as well with the promotion.
Yeah. It's going to be really busy, but I love that bit. It's kind of fun to be at a desk writing for a couple of years and then be allowed out for a couple of months to actually meet some people, meet some readers, I think, I'm going to Bristol, where my son, who's a musician, is actually joining me to play at the event.
Oh, excellent.
And yeah, Edinburgh, some stops in the north, some in Winchester and Hampshire and Southampton, lots in London, some online, all over the place.
Amazing. So exciting, isn't it?
It sounds glamorous, but there's no red carpets. There's no really fancy hotels. Sandwiches from the motorways stop and yeah, not so glamorous, really.
Do you have any information that you'd like to share about the book?
Yeah. So Hunger and Thirst is about a woman called Ursula who's looking back at 1987 when she was 16, and she works in the post room of an art school, actually the art school that I went to in the 1980s, but I'm in no way am I Ursula. And she dares Ursula to do all sorts of things, and eventually she dares her to kill someone. And when Ursula does, she is haunted, kind of literally haunted for the rest of her life. And at the same time, there is a documentary maker who is investigating the events of 1987 and digging into Ursula's past, which kind of makes her have to confront them. So there's my little summing up.
That's amazing. Quite a few of your books have more darker themes in them.
Yeah.
When you say that, what inspires you to write?
I guess when I started, and now, even now, I suppose I'm just writing the kind of books I like to read. And I don't really read full-on horror, but I like an element of darkness. I'm not really into cozy fiction or romance, I suppose. There's absolutely nothing wrong with those genres, but they're not the kinds of things I like to read. I'm just writing the kind of stuff I like to read, and that usually has some darker element and maybe a little bit of mystery in it, something that needs kind of puzzling out and a lot of ambiguity. So I don't like the books I read to have neat endings and to all be tied up at the end. I much prefer the reader to be going, oh, what was that?
That's excellent. Would you say you got a dare to do something horrible in school?
I can't think of anything. No, that wasn't really the inspiration for the book. That's just the direction it took when I kind of got to know Sue, and that's the kind of character she is, really. A little bit tricky.
With your writing process sometimes, how deeply do you plan your books? Or is it you start with a scene and then it takes you somewhere else and go, oh, that's not what I planned, but here we go?
Yeah, no planning at all. No planning. So I usually start with a character in a place. And with Hunger and Thirst, I actually wrote a very short story about a woman in a restaurant with her colleagues. And her colleagues are rather nasty to her, or one is in particular, and accuses her of being brought up by wolves or bears or something. And I finished that short story and I was just quite interested in the characters. And so I thought I would write some more, and that scene is mostly in a book, but that became part of the book, as well as a little bit of kind of horror. Ursula ends up in a squat in a kind of suburban bungalow that is falling down and is not very nice. And actually, I lived in that house. It is an actual house that I lived in about 1989, 1990. It was a squat. And the man who had owned it had gone on holiday, I think, to Australia to visit his daughter, and he just decided never to come back. So all his stuff was left in the house, and me and my friend lived in there. But before I moved in, I'd heard about this story of the girls who were living there. One night, somebody knocked on one of the windows, and then they moved on to the next window outside and knocked on that and went round the house, rapping on the windows, and they were inside absolutely terrified. And that kind of happens in the book as well. And it's something that just stuck with me, how frightening that would be.
Could you tell us about what got you into the writing?
Unlike loads of writers who say that they always wanted to be a writer since, they could first remember, that was not the case for me. It never occurred to me that I could have been a writer. I was always a reader. Becoming a published author or even trying to write a book was just not on my agenda at all. I don't know. I think I thought that writers were different to me, different kinds of people. But then when I was about 40, and I met my second husband, or the man who became my second husband, we decided to do some art projects. And we were following the book Learning to Love You More by Miranda July. And she kind of encouraged people to do all sorts of weird public art projects, like have a one-person demonstration. So we held up the traffic in Reading with a big placard which said less driving, more walking. And then I decided that I would sign up for what was called a short story slam in my local library, where you had to read it out to the audience and the audience voted on their winner. And I had not written anything since. I'd been at school a long, long time before, but I wrote several short stories, and I realized that I kind of learned stuff about myself, I think, that I don't actually like writing. I know that sounds weird, having had 6 books published, but I like having written. And I like having written so much that I will go through the pain of writing. Anyway, so I did this short story program, and then I decided to do an MA in creative writing. And I wrote Our Endless Numbered Days, my first novel, on that course. So that's how I got into it. I found an agent, and eventually my agent sold that book to Penguin, and I haven't looked back. I feel almost guilty telling this story because I know how difficult it can be to find an agent and to get published. But I do tell it because I hope that it gives some hope for people who are writing and, trying to find an agent, because it is possible that kind of miracles can actually happen. So, I didn't know anyone in publishing. I didn't know any agents. I didn't know any editors. I didn't know anyone who had actually had a book published before. So I'd finished this book. I'd edited as much as I could, and I selected 12 agents from an online resource, which is now, I think, part of Jericho Writers. And I sent the manuscript out, as you're meant to, with the first 3 chapters or whatever it is, and a covering letter and a synopsis. And I got a couple of rejections, but request for a full submission. So I sent that off, and that was to Lutchins and Rubinstein and Jane Finnegan, and she asked to meet me. I went up to London and we had a coffee, and she bought me the smallest cake you could ever possibly buy. But she bought me a cake, so that's okay. And she offered to represent me in the novel, and I said yes. I thought she was great. I just said yes there and then.
Did you not think she was a bit cheap by buying that tiny little cake? I would look at her and go, come on, I might be your client, mate.
But despite the cake, the time, Lutchins and Rubinstein also owned and ran the bookshop called Lutchins and Rubinstein in Notting Hill in London. And she took me back to the shop, and we went down into the basement where there were loads of bookshelves with books. And she slid these bookshelves open, and all the literary agents were in a secret room behind the shelves.
What?
And I pulled a face like you just pulled. It was like, you're all here behind the shelves. I thought that was so cool that despite the small cake, I said yes.
Do you know what? I would also be convinced by a secret door. I'd be like, who cares about that cake?
Yeah.
There's a secret society under the shop.
They were literally secret agents. So who's going to say no to that?
Was it an initiation? Did they have to do some weird ritual to get you in?
No, actually, they just ignored me and carried on with their work. But yeah, it was still quite good. It was good.
On this podcast as well, we'd like to talk about some things that people potentially don't want to discuss. Things like failures. Did you ever have a writing failure that you were like, oh, I can't believe this happened?
Well, I've had that a lot with short stories. So I started out kind of, as I said, writing short stories and also flash fiction, so I've had some success with those, but so many more stories that are unpublished, just kind of in the bottom of a drawer under the bed. So, those are my failures, I suppose. And there's always failures when you're writing. You go in the wrong direction. You don't like what you've written. The writing comes really different. It's really difficult. It's really hard work. And it just is a mess. It's clunky. It's not anything you would want anyone to see. But, the next day you go back and you look at what you've written, and there might just be one sentence that is worth saving, but sometimes that can kind of help you carry on. So I guess I face those kinds of failures, as all writers do, every day at the desk.
And I suppose, as you said, if you don't like writing, but you like to have something be written. So for you, it's confronting it every day, isn't it? To be like, oh, I have to do it again.
Yeah, you have to do it again and again and again for like 3 years. I think you really, to be a writer, you have to have an awful lot of tenacity. I don't know if it's quite a thick skin, but just accept that you are going to write something that's a mess at first. You know, before I was a writer, before that I worked in marketing, but before that, as I said, I was a sculptor and I did art. And I think making art is a lot like that. You have to make a mess. You have to accept that what's on the page is not very good, but you still have to keep going again and again and again. Yeah.
Were there any moments where someone else's feedback has impacted what you've written significantly?
Well, certainly with my editors.
I can imagine,
Yeah. I have my editor in America at Tin House, Sando, and my editor at Fig Tree Penguin in the UK. Both for Hunger and Thirst, they gave me lots and lots of feedback and lots of edits. So there was really more with this book than any other book that I've written, more edits to do. So the editing, which I enjoy, so it wasn't too much of a pain, but it was a lot. It took about a year. So in a way, I feel like this book, I kind of rewrote, and I put things in because there's an element of ambiguity and some scariness and some ghosts or possession or something is going on. How much do I want to make it clear what's going on? How much ambiguity do I want? How much real world explanation do I want for what's happening? How much, let's just not explain it and go with it. And sometimes I put stuff in and it was clear that I'd really gone too far into explaining stuff. And then I'd have to, pull out all those threads and do it all over again. So that, working with those two editors was, inspiring but hard work.
If you want to say anything about money number-wise, how does the process of getting paid when you're writing works?
So I get an advance from Penguin and from Tin House in America, and actually from my Canadian publisher. They're all separate. And that advance is broken, I think it's into 4 chunks. So one on signing the contract, one on delivering the manuscript to a state where they can publish it, one on publication of hardback, and then on publication of paperback. So, that money might come in over the course of 3 or 4 years. It's a long time that money has to kind of last, but you'll hope, the previous book is also, some money is coming in from that and lots of other things. And then I've sold some film rights for 3 of the 6 novels. Nothing's been made yet, but that, it's
typical.
I think having a film made, or not that I'm involved in it, but it seems to me that an option for film or TV is slower even than writing a book. It just seems to take forever. But, that's just a little bit more money, which is quite nice. And then if the book earns out, as in you've sold enough copies that the advance is kind of down to 0, then you start earning royalties. And you earn those in different countries depending on what has sold. And then there are also possibly foreign editions. So different publishers around the world will buy the book, usually for quite a small amount compared to the UK and the US, but that is another income stream. So it's all from different places. What's hard is that money comes in over the course of several years and you don't know how much it's going to be generally. So it's very hard to kind of budget and account for things. So I am kind of over cautious in that, I don't know what's going to sell and how much for. I often try to kind of live on the money from the previous book so that I don't have to worry too much about this one at the moment, if that makes sense.
It does. Have you ever sold out your advance?
I have in other countries and America, but I've only sold out the advance for Unsettled Ground in the UK. But that might be because you have a big advance, and is it better to have a big advance and not earn out? Maybe it is, or rather than have a small advance and earn out and start earning royalties.
Things to consider.
Well, not that I really have any choice. The author can have very little impact on that stuff, very little impact on sales. That really comes down to promotion and other things that your publisher does. All I can go is on Instagram, look at me, I've got a book coming out, to the
Everyone
same
read it.
people, to the same people over and over.
And it's working, isn't it? Because your Instagram is quite popular.
Yeah. I mean, it's a few thousand, which is nice. It's very nice because I try not to do too much of look at me, buy my book. I do also review lots of the books that I read. So I have this thing called Claire's Books at Breakfast, where I take a picture of whatever I've been reading at breakfast, and because I like my eggs, as you know, and give it a little review. I think lots of people are now finding books that they would like to read from my reviews, which is, I think, sharing the love of books is a wonderful thing, which I'm happy to carry on doing.
It's quite popular on social media to connect via discussions about books. Even as an author, a lot of them found success just by talking about books that they enjoy, and then people say, oh, I also enjoy those books. And then they're going, but also I write books.
Yeah.
Please buy it. Give it a read.
Yeah.
Go to your local libraries. They're there too.
Yes. Yeah, libraries are great too. Authors get a little bit of money from every book that's borrowed, so use your libraries, absolutely.
Absolutely. What a great asset to society and communities.
Yeah.
Do you have any hard truths that you think young writers should learn very quickly?
I think if you're writing without yet having found an agent or an editor, it's really about just keeping going, I think, and finishing your first draft and then editing. It is about tenacity. It's about putting your bum on the seat and writing and editing and editing. There's no quick way to do it, though, but I think I'll be fine. Yeah, there's no quick fix for writing a novel, is there? You just have to keep going. But I think if you have been published or about to be published, it will all feel very exciting. And I understand, with debuts, you are kind of in awe of your agent and in awe of your publisher, and you don't want to put a step wrong in case they say, oh no, we've changed our minds. Oh, we got the wrong person. It wasn't you we meant to publish. We were meant to publish someone else. But I think at a certain stage, you need to try and start kind of taking control of this career and working out what it is you want and how to connect with your readers, and knowing that anything could happen in the publishing industry. You could suddenly, I have no intention of this, but you could suddenly decide to go and self-publish. And then how are you going to find your readers? So kind of thinking about that from a more commercial point of view, I think, if you're about to be published is a very important thing.
All right. Thank you. Is there anything else that we didn't cover that you'd like to let people know about? You also do writing courses, don't you?
I do. I just delivered one yesterday for beginner writers with Lucy Atkins, and it was great fun. Quite hard work. My brain was I was a bit brain dead this morning, but it was great. It's great to connect with new writers and to talk about the process of writing and give them loads of tips and tricks and send them on their way, kind of reinvigorated with their novels. So I don't think I'm teaching again until the end of the year, when I'm doing a week at Avon. They have 3 houses around the country, and they're residential writing retreats with published authors as the tutors. And they are incredibly intense and focused and really hard work. But for a week, you're kind of in a house with 14 or so other writers, and it's just writing from the moment you wake up, talking about it and then doing it and discussing it and sharing work until the moment you go to bed. I really love it.
Yeah. Here you go. And we'd like to end this session with a short debate. Claire, you have brought a topic for me, and I have to be on the other side. I do not know what it is, but we'll figure it out.
So my topic is that no published book should ever have a movie tie-in cover or a sticker on it that you cannot remove.
Well, that's a hard one to debate. Okay, please present your point and I'll try to figure something out.
Well, movie tie-in covers are always cheesy, aren't they? They're always cheesy. They don't express very well what the book is about. I don't think they have a still usually from the movie that doesn't ever somehow get across the kinds of characters. In fact, it detracts, I think, from the reading experience, because as a reader, you need to create the characters in your head. So you don't want to see a cheesy picture of them on the cover. And then, don't get me started on stickers.
Especially the ones you can't remove. And they're, I'm not on your side. I'm not on your side.
I can tell. Well, either they're printed, which I don't like. Although, of course, when Unsettled Ground won the Costa novel, I think it had some stickers on it, which I was very proud of.
That's different, however. I think winning an award sticker is slightly different than as seen on Netflix.
Or as seen on Netflix are the worst. And then either they're actually part of the image, which is pretty bad, or if they're stuck on and you try to remove them and then you just get that glue, you get a circle of glue. Come on, tell me what's the benefit?
Right. So benefit of a movie tie-in cover could be that people who are not necessarily big readers but have seen it on TV would like to get into reading. They now can associate the thing that they watched before with the book and are more likely to pick it up. Same with big on TikTok stickers that you see everywhere as well. It gives that extra promotional material to the group of people who normally not enjoy reading, but now is a little bit of an incentive. And I like to think of them because I think about them a lot. I am a big advocate of them. If you go to a supermarket and there is a wine bottle with an award sticker, you're more likely to pick it up because it means something to these people. So it also must mean to the general public when they see the two actors on the front of the book.
So why don't they put stickers on movies saying with a book cover? Or why don't they do book tie-in the other way around to find movie watchers?
Oh, that is an excellent that is actually genuinely a very good question. I am going to pretend that I am an expert and I'm going to say that it is more likely that the general public will come from film to book than from book to film, because people who read books to then watch the film already have the book with them, so they don't need the tie-in.
Yeah, you're right, but shouldn't we be encouraging it the other way around?
We should,
yeah. And you still have not answered me about the glue.
The glue, just get some acetone. Rub it out, it's going to be clean. Same with leather shoes. If you ever have any sort of stain, just a bit of acetone does the job.
I shouldn't have to put acetone on my novel.
Or you can use a hairdryer to warm up the glue to peel it. And who doesn't like extra steps and interactive activities when reading a book?
You sound like you've actually had to do this. You have some real tips for removing stickers.
Absolutely, I have. No one will see a sticker on my books, thank you very much. Unless they're printed, in which case I will put another sticker on top with something else.
Not bad answers, but you haven't convinced me, I'm afraid.
I'm afraid I have not convinced myself either. But thank you so much for this amazing debate, Claire. Thank you so much for joining us today. Remember that there's going to be 4 more episodes, and on the 5th one we're going to announce a winner to receive our £100 grant, and there's going to be a second winner in the 2nd season of the podcast. If you wish for us to interview any of the other writers, please do let us know in the comments or drop us a message somewhere. We are on TikTok, Instagram, and potentially Facebook by the time this podcast comes out. Thank you for listening and enjoy your day.
Thanks for having me. It's been absolutely wonderful.